Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. It's a little switch up, last minute switch up from Joe Doherty. I'm Marla Vittorello, and I'd like to welcome everybody to the Top Lawyer Show. We have Sean Quinn as our hostess. How are you, Sean?
I am well. It is I hopefully Joe is listening to this and understands that we got an upgrade today.
Yeah,
One, it's like a dual bonus.
thank
One, we
you.
get to hang out with Marla, and
Yay!
two, we don't have to hang out with Joe. So
Right.
we're all winning.
Listen, he called me frantically this morning and basically was like, "Oh my God, I can't get on." I mean, this was literally just about 10 minutes ago. And
Sounds
he
about that
said,
checks out for Joe.
yeah. And he said, I should call the guys immediately and apologize because they don't get to see his face. They only get to see my face today. And it would be very depressing for you guys. And I said, I'll try my best to just hold it together for them.
You're a team player, Marla. We always appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you guys so much. I was going to say the hostess with the mostest. We have attorney Sean Quinn and our fabulous guest, which I have now the pleasure and honor of meeting, Rafael Castro. Am I saying that correctly, your first name?
That's right, Marla. So excited to be on the show today. Shout out to Joe. Even though I was with him yesterday in my office, he gets a pass,
He gets a
but
pass.
he gets a
Mhm.
pass today, but I'm really upset that he's not here.
Yeah, I
I
mean, listen,
know.
the fact that you survived him being in your office, like, I know better. I don't invite him into places where, that's why we stopped doing this in the studio, just so we didn't have to hang out with him face to face.
Yeah, wherever there's a time limit, right? Joe D has no time limit. Gotta love the guy. He's been doing this for so long. And I actually think this may be the first time that there's an actual fill in for Joe D in all the years because we've been doing radio together close to probably 8 to 10 years, him and I. But I've never actually filled in the Joe Doc shoes. And I just feel like it's such an honor today.
Big time.
Couldn't
So,
ask for a
so,
better host here for
so
you.
Marla, one of the things that we always do here, it's a Joe Doherty segment. So obviously there's sports involved in this because, frankly, he can't survive without talking that.
I
But,
know.
Ralph, this is our first time working together on a show. What we like to do is the focus of this show is really to put a spotlight on the folks that aren't on the billboards. Okay. And let the public know out there that there's beyond the billboards, beyond all the TV ads, there's a whole group of lawyers that are hustling and making the lives of the Philadelphia community better every day. And Raf, I'm going to shorten it because I'm monosyllabic and I like to go with single syllables here. Former football guy, big surprise. But listen, your story was really compelling to me. Grew up in Philly, son of immigrant parents, put yourself through law school, hustled, immediately started working as a prosecutor, dealing with some of the biggest cases. And I always say prosecutors, defense, criminal defense, if you work at a PD, you get a lot of real world experience that is really
Yeah.
hard to come by early in your career. And really quick, obviously in your got a ton of trial experience, and then you decided to pivot and made the switch over to representing victims of personal injury in the civil world, same world kind of I cohabitate with you. So, I just think it's always remarkable when I see lawyers that are hustling and building something. So, listen, we're going to give you a little bit of platform today to talk a little bit about your story, where you've come from, where you're going. But first, welcome to the show.
I appreciate that, Sean. That's an amazing introduction.
Yeah.
I really like you and Marlo already better than Joe.
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, that bar was really low, so
We knew
all we
that.
had to do is kind of like pivot over it.
I
Listen,
appreciate
when he
that.
told me who I was on with today, I was really excited. I have to say, it's an honor to be with you guys.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So obviously we're in an environment where the word immigrant, even alone, is sometimes raises things. So you're the son of immigrant parents. What does it mean to you to have that kind of badge as somebody who works in an environment and representing hardworking folks in this area?
It's everything.
Mhm.
I think when both of my parents immigrated from the Dominican Republic, they wanted to give an opportunity for me and my siblings to have a better life. When they came to this country, they didn't know any English, and all they knew was hard work. So I was lucky enough where they sacrificed, they didn't go to college, they put me through Catholic school. I grew up in South Philly. I was able to meet a ton of great neighborhood friends that I'm still friends to this day. They put me through Catholic school and I went to Roman Catholic high school,
I was
all
just going to ask you
boys.
what high school, Newman or Roman Catholic? 'Cause those are the
Roman
two big ones.
Catholic.
Roman
Yeah,
Catholic.
all my friends who went to Newman and St. Joe's, I love those guys. But
Mhm.
that's one of the reasons why me and Joe always connected was because we're both Cahillites, purple
Mhm.
and gold. And we love talking about the basketball team, their football program. But I was lucky enough where I understood the importance of like hard work and just knowing that you are a representative of the community, no matter who you are, and you're a steward. So with that instilled in me, because both my mom is a nurse and my dad works in government, I was like, I wanted to do public service. I wanted to help others. I wanted to be an advocate. So right away, I thought about going to law school. So I went to Temple University and I majored in criminal justice, and I was able to intern both at the public defender's office and the DA's office here in Philly, and got to learn about how to be a trial advocate. And really, that was the impetus for me to go to law school at Widener. And it was an incredible time. I was able to intern with incredible judges and got more legal experience. After law school, my first job was clerking for the president judge and then going to the DA's office. So I was able to handle the most serious type of crimes in the eastern part of the city, which is Kensington.
Hmm.
So it's attempted murders, shootings, burglaries, robberies,
Mhm.
and really become a trial attorney and learning to think on your feet and getting to know victims and learning their story and advocating for them in front of a jury, in front of a judge. And I was able to take all of my experience doing juries on the civil side. So I worked at the biggest workers' compensation firm, probably in the country, is Palma Hockey.
Mhm.
And that opened up a new world to me because, I was doing criminal. I had no idea what radiculopathy was, right? And I think
You
more
also didn't know
importantly,
what it was like to have an assistant when you were working as a DA.
oh yeah. I mean, I remember being on trial all week. And this is, I've been an attorney for 15 years. So I remember like faxing discovery on the weekends, right? I didn't know what like an assistant was,
You're the
right?
chief cook in the bottle washer. I got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was lucky enough where I was able to go to Pond and just like learn like how to be a businessman, how to market.
Right.
That
Yeah.
that that instilled in me like a whole new area of law. I feel like that if it wasn't for that experience, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today because I
Yeah.
feel like, and I'm sure you know this, Sean, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
As an owner of your own firm, you got to get money in the door. You got to make the phone ring.
Right.
You got to make sure that clients know who you are. So
It's the they don't teach you that in law school, right? They don't teach you how to run a business and that your brand matters. They don't, I always think it's one of the disservices we
Mhm.
do to the legal profession is to not educate people how to run a business, how to
Yeah.
read a P&L, how to
Yeah.
understand how to actually, acquire clients, market to clients, and then
Right.
service those clients. I think a lot of lawyers, and listen, I've been in the game for 25 years now. The gray hairs prove that. But the reality for me is, yeah, I didn't learn any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's so hard. And Marla,
Yeah.
firsthand, like from the sales perspective and the hustle it
Absolutely.
takes
Mhm.
working in facing jobs where it's business related but also law related, and then
Right.
so it's a tremendous advantage
Yeah.
for lawyers that are just starting to have business knowledge, marketing knowledge. It's all the things I wish I had studied in college.
So I want to actually add to that too, because when you were saying in the field of law that they don't teach the business classes, and you really would like that. I think that they should implement that in residency and medical school too, because doctors come out and it's the same thing. They just don't. And I'm a nurse. And I'm not practicing actively. But we didn't have any business courses at all. Nothing, no accounting, finance, anything at all. And, this is the funny part. I never had one business class in my entire life, and I'm VP of Business Operations and Development. Right. So people are like, well, and I'm on TV and radio. So like, I have no communications background. I have none of that. And you learn because you want to learn, and you evolve because you want to evolve. I also share that background. I was medical director for Palma Hockey for a number of years.
No way.
Yeah. I know the team, great guys. And, absolutely agree with you. They have propelled my future and professionalism. And really, I got to start in workers' comp because of them. So, and that's why we're all sitting here today. And listen, but to Sean's point too, they're a big marketing firm. They are the guys that are on the billboards. And if you look now and you see these billboards as you're driving up 95, it's a nice reminder that they're there for you, but the guys who aren't on the billboards are very good too, if not just as great. And it's just where you want to spend your marketing dollars and what you think is the most important, So they've done a great job with their marketing. They have fantastic.
Oh yeah, they're tremendous. Like they're listen, as somebody who markets myself, right? I admire good marketing, and they do a great job. And frankly, listen, they were
the pioneers of it. Really, I mean,
I'm a piker compared to Morgan & Morgan, obviously, but I can appreciate good marketing. Like I'm a fan of good marketing. The only marketing that I have issues with is when I see billboards and TV advertisements and I know that they don't have lawyers on the ground here. That is the tough one. That's
I know who you're talking about.
I mean, they're one of the biggest marketers in our thing, and they don't have a single boot on the ground representing people. That drives me crazy.
Yeah, you should be able to knock on the door.
And that was the impetus for me starting my firm, because after Palma Hockey, I also worked at other big PI firms, Eric Shore and Lundy Law. And I wanted to build my own thing, right? And I'm sure that resonates with you, Sean, right?
It does.
And what I thought the biggest misconception of what we do is that when an injured worker or an injured personal injury victim calls a law firm, they believe that they're speaking to an attorney, and that alleged attorney is going to help them through the process. Right. And that could be further from the truth. And that really upsets me, right? Because of my background, public service, representing victims of crime. And listen, I get it. It's a business, but when I went on my own, I told myself, I'm different than Amazon. I'm different than Walmart. You're going to have personalized attention, constant communication. You're going to have my phone number, and I'm going to have your hand step by step throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I think the consumer, to some extent, will forgive you if you have an intake team, representatives answering the phones, as long as your firm is going to be the one handling their case. I think where it becomes disingenuous is where it's like a call center and they're just a lead gen company selling their leads to various companies, or a firm that is masquerading as something. Like, that's just where, listen, that's my little soapbox that I get on LinkedIn and shout to the masses.
I don't blame you either, because, we see it all the time. Clients and patients, and when we refer to clients, obviously we're talking about law firm and patients with the doctors, but these two fields unite in a way, and that's where pharmacy is kind of in the middle too, because we're helping them, get to their recovery and feeling better and back to work or back to life. And, it's you want the personal touch. You want to be able to pick up the phone and call your attorney or call your doctor. And obviously, some of the bigger firms, they can't do that because of the volume and things like that. But if you have handling attorneys that all have the same philosophy where you care about people, and Raphael, I just want to point something out too, and I can tell immediately by the way you started to speak. You said your mom was a nurse and you said your father was in government. So both of your parents have demonstrated compassion and leadership. And that's the most important thing that you could give your client is your compassion and your leadership. They're coming to you to represent them in a life-changing event, because if it wasn't that big of a deal, they wouldn't come and seek counsel, right? You know, a little bender. I mean, I believe everybody should have counsel. I do.
Sure.
I don't care how little or big it is, because
Yeah.
and you know, Sean, you know, somebody gets in a car accident, right? A week later, 2 weeks later, they start really, you know, have stiffness and pain. So,
Oh,
Absolutely.
you're 100% right.
yeah.
When I'm done representing a client and I hand them a settlement check, one of the
Mhm.
first things I do is I hand write a letter. Like say, hey, thank you so much. Would you
Oh,
be
that's
able to
awesome.
tell future clients and give us a 5-star Google review?
Hmm.
So just like Sean, I do a lot of like organic marketing.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, speaking to other lawyers, speaking to other doctors, speaking to previous clients about like, hey, I would love for you to refer me work because that's honestly the best type of referral.
Right.
And
Yeah, absolutely.
anytime when somebody writes a Google review for me or when I speak to a previous client, they never remember like the minutia of like, hey,
Right.
I argued this summary judgment, or hey, I got this deposition expert and I cornered him. They don't remember none of that stuff, right? They remember how they feel. They
Yes.
remember that they were seen. They remember that I was able to pick up the phone call and talk to them about like this whole process, and that's usually what you see, right? In Google
Hmm.
reviews, right? Or
Yeah.
when you talk to past clients. So like, no, like Sean, Marla, Raphael, like they
Hmm.
spoke to me and I felt heard.
Right. So, Sean, I have a question for you too.
Yeah.
So, and you've been in this industry. Let me ask real quick, Raphael, when did you start your firm, your new firm?
8 months ago.
8 months. So I wish you the best of luck, and I'm excited to watch you grow. But I'm going to pivot real quick to Sean. So, Sean, and how many attorneys do you have, Sean, in your firm?
I have 3 lawyers, and
Hmm.
this is our just hit 13 years.
Wow. And that's amazing
Congratulations.
too.
Thanks.
Yeah. We know Sean. Sean's like an incredibly successful lawyer, I'm sure, as you know. Everybody knows who Sean Quinn is. And, you know, his track record speaks very loudly for him in winning cases. But how can you give your best words of advice to Raphael about the balance? Because when you're 8 months in, you are able to do that personal touch. At some point, right, you have to expand your wings a little bit, hire people who are like minded like
Yeah.
you, who handle. How do you trust those people that are going to put your stamp on your work?
It's the things that I didn't know 13 years ago. That's for sure. um, it is one of the biggest challenges to go from a founder-led firm
Yeah.
to a multi-lawyer firm
Hmm.
without being hypercritical of
Right.
every little thing that somebody does. And I didn't learn it till much later, probably 10 years down the road.
Hmm.
Because I was the mountain. I was the person that prevented it from growing and really kind of scaling to a level that I was comfortable with. At some point, you just kind of take the mantra that 80% done is 100% awesome. And every letter doesn't need to be my stamp of approval. Like when it's going to an insurance company, you have to pick and choose your battles because, while in the beginning stages, I could handle that every 2-week call to the
Right.
client, when you're
Yeah.
managing 300 clients in a firm, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
So you have to surround yourself with good people, let them grow, and trust them to do the work. I, for the longest time, prevented us from growing simply because of that lack of trust
Hmm.
or self sabotage. The best thing I could tell you is work on yourself, work on your leadership skills, and everything else will kind of fall into place. You have the benefit of establishing a culture. I wish I had talked about culture and all those things much
Right.
earlier. Uh,
Right.
you know, being the former football guy, like I believed it was like, like stupid things. So like, all like I got a sign behind me that says grit, right? I got all those little things.
Right.
They were all like accessories posters,
Uh-huh.
but we really kind of within the last couple of years try to reevaluate what's important to us and what do
Mhm.
we stand for. And and one of the
Right.
things that I like to think that Marla, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
I'd like to think that people think that I'm authentic. and I
Yeah.
shoot it straight. And that
100%.
you don't get a lot of, listen, some people might
It's
not
no
like
lip
me,
service.
but
You know?
I am who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm not for everybody. So I get that.
Well,
But
I was actually going to say that too, with the Google reviews and things like that,
yeah,
and look, a patient goes into a hospital, right? They have a bad experience in a hospital. They will trash the hospital. Oh my God, don't go there. It's
yep,
terrible. The doctors, blah, blah, just based off of one experience. And you work so hard for your credibility, for people to like us. We want people to like us because we are who we are, but there's going to be people who don't like you for whatever reason that is. And that might be one out of like 1,000 people that you deal with. Maybe, they
yeah.
misinterpreted or you rubbed them the wrong way.
Or if you just don't take their case. Like
Right. Well, that's
there
the
are
other thing.
people
Yeah,
that
they get
I have
offensive.
fired as clients that have then given me a 1-star review. And listen, they were a client. They did
Right.
engage with our firm. We got to deal with it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And we feel it on the pharmacy side too. If somebody doesn't get their meds like immediately, well, our policy is you have to answer the phone. We have to speak to you. We want to know that the medications are being sent to a physical location. Go on Google and they destroy us like,
Yep.
it was like 3 days before I got it. Well, those are policies, it's
The,
just, it's
the other
facts.
thing I forgot to mention though is
Yeah.
as you start to scale, set KPIs, set rules, set
Boundaries.
expectations,
Yeah.
and then hold people to them.
Yeah.
Where you get hurt, and I did, is bending the rules because you're like,
Yes.
I can't afford to lose this person, right?
Right.
The reality is you're sending a message that every corner you cut, it's okay to keep cutting them. And they will, it's like the old, listen, Marla, we've got kids. You give them an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah.
And
and it's painful for us.
Yes.
It's painful for us to have to do certain things. Like, I know when my son doesn't put his clothes away, I have to take away his phone. Well, then he's just going to break stones for the rest of the day. Mom, I want my phone, Mom. And you just know it's coming, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly, Sean. It's, sometimes you just want to turn your head a little bit and be like, all right, that's their style of doing something. I'm going to let it go. But there's, 50 other people watching you in your firm, 20 people who are watching, and they take mental notes on exactly what you did. So it will be brought up. So you can't afford to lose them, but can we afford to keep them in the future? That's the real question, right?
Yeah. And one of the reasons I'm glad you mentioned your kids, Marla, because one of the reasons why I went out on my own is freedom. I have a 2-year-old. And my wife is pregnant, 6 months on the way.
Congrats.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
Yes, beautiful.
What I wanted 15 years ago as a prosecutor and like building these big cases is different from what I want now. So I wanted to build my own.
Yeah.
And you're absolutely right, Sean. You got to have the support system, you got to have the staff, and then you got to trust them.
Yeah.
So one of the big reasons why I was able to leave the firm and start my own was because my longtime paralegal, Anisha, came with me.
Great.
And we've been working together for 8 years. And
Nice.
I consider her another attorney. Like, that's how much she knows, where she's able to draft the complaint. She's able to do the discovery. And I'm able to like rely on her. And I'm lucky enough where I've been building it where I just hired a legal assistant full-time as well. So I wanted to grow slow and steady. And like what you guys mentioned is like building out the systems first and holding myself accountable to what I need to do on a weekly basis and monthly basis. But what I've realized, it's more of a business than actually being a lawyer, but it's really exciting at the same time.
The other thing I could say on that is I wish I had done this earlier, is starting to create playbooks. And you would think like former athletes, we should be developing playbooks and handbooks and stuff like that, but it's not intuitive. And you're like, how do I have time to do these things? But once I started talking into a camera, I record everything I do now. So if I'm sitting at my desk working on a legal matter or doing something like that, I shoot a video. This way it goes into our training library so that I'm not constantly retraining people, new people. So start building your video library, use Loom or some other service. It makes a life, like I now have, within the past 3 years, have created 50 plus videos on all sorts of different things, showing people how to use different software. Some showing people what my expectations is to the minutia of like scanning, little things that you take for granted, but that you don't want to teach over and over. Between that, a Slack channel, making information available so that I'm no longer the bottleneck.
Yeah. But you know what? That's great advice, especially I don't want to call you a new attorney because you have 15 years experience, but
New owner,
right? You're an owner. But you did say something that just resonated and I jumped when you said it, because a lot of people don't understand that concept. And for such I'm going to say a young man in growing your own firm in your career, slow growth is the most beautiful thing you can ever do. It's the best linear you can ever see, because when people do this, what happens is they get the volume, they can't service the accounts, and it flops, whether it's in medicine, law, whatever it is, any business. If you can't handle the business coming in the way your culture is set and how you are as a person, and you can't deliver that A game, that's the Google reviews, forget it. You'll hear that'll never end. But the slow growth, you can absorb it. It's a little painful. You make the process more painful, slow growing, but that's the way to do it. Definitely. That's awesome.
Yeah. And plus, from your P&L standpoint, you don't want to overextend yourself too much
financially,
with loaded salaries, things like that, particularly I always say, like, a lot of people will say year one is the hardest. Year two is actually the hardest, because a lot of the work, the work you've done to acquire business won't manifest itself sometimes until year three. So year two can be a challenge sometimes financially, because you've spent time building up, you've increased your overhead in that time. And then it's like, wow, where did all that money go that I started with?
Right. Yeah. Then you have to, then the marketing kind of comes into play.
It does.
I don't envy you guys at all in being lawyers, especially in Philadelphia area.
It's competitive.
It's competitive. And there's a large volume per square foot, especially in Center City and in the surrounding areas in Delaware Valley. And you have to do things that kind of make you stick out differently from other attorneys. Raphael, can you tell me what you think is, but obviously we're not asking you to put down everybody else, but what is it, the attribute about you that makes you stand out above everybody else that you can say? And it's okay to be, like, we know you can be humble and all that kind of stuff, but spill the beans. What do you think makes you different?
I think Sean hit it right on the head in the beginning of our show. It's all about trust, right? So when I'm speaking to a referral attorney, when I'm speaking to a prior client who's going to send me business, immediately, right, they have to think, he's going to take care of me. He's got my back.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a case and he's going to handle it. I'm very lucky where there isn't a lot of attorneys who do specifically what I do. So I'm Spanish speaking. I'm barred in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, and I handle personal injury and workers' compensation. So not that I know of, there isn't a lot of attorneys who do that. So that's how I market. And also it's about personalized attention, constant communication. So when I'm branding myself, when I go on these coffees, these lunches, these dinners, emails, phone calls, it's very natural, right? Because you don't want to necessarily ask for business, but people need to know like what you do. So we're not necessarily on a billboard on the back of a bus, but as soon as when people think and know that, oh, wow, I have a hybrid workers' compensation and personal injury case, they're probably going to think about me the next time.
Yeah, that's a great point. How about you, Sean? I think I could probably answer that for you, but
no, listen, I mean, my practice has really kind of morphed over the years, but in terms of just like, what we stand for, in terms of what it's a lot like Raphael. There's an authenticity here. And frankly, we have a track record of success I've been doing it for 25 years. We certainly, my practice specifically has morphed into doing more construction accident work. I strictly do the third party work. I don't do any of the workers' comp. So unlike Raphael's firm, we don't do comp. We get a lot of referrals from comp lawyers that have interesting workplace accidents, industrial accidents, I
Mhm.
made my name doing, construction falls and dealing with workers that have had massive injuries. My team does a lot of the auto accidents at this point. That type of work. But, we've built kind of our own little cottage industry through a couple different ways. Marketing, I say it's the old analog marketing, shaking hands, going to meetings, the stuff that's offline,
Yeah.
all of that. About a third of our business still comes from attorney referrals, former clients that we've serviced and worked with over the years. We're big believers in digital advertising as well. So,
Mhm.
from SEO work to pay-per-click advertising, direct lead acquisition, it's important. And
Yeah.
because overall, you have to make sure that what your brand stands for. We will have a brand relaunch this year.
You
We
are? Do
have a
tell.
new URL and
Uh-huh.
it hasn't gone live yet, but
It's so
because
exciting.
we have to like test it with some things. But we do happen to own the Quinn Wins URL, and
I like it.
Win with Quinn URL. So, listen, I've seen some success from other firms adopting that. Frankly, we can I have a name that kind of flows with those things, so it kind of works well. So we're gonna play on it.
That's
I think it's
excellent.
so important to build it
Excellent.
first. I
Yeah.
mean, Sean, you've got a great track record. You gotta be battle experienced, trial ready. You got to be shaking those hands. But you're right. I think digital content is so important. I've
Mhm.
hired a marketing contractor team to help me build it out.
Great.
But I think first, I want to make sure that we build out the website, right? Because that's what people look
Right.
at,
People go
right?
to websites still. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I was lucky
Absolutely.
enough, I didn't want to have any overhead expenses, and I had my wife. She was like my first unofficial employee, and she like
Ah,
built like a really basic landing page. Hey, this is
nice.
my phone number, this is my details. But I've been like successful enough where I'm able to say, you know what?
Great.
Now I have the full-time employees. I feel
Hmm.
comfortable enough where I can spend a little bit more. So yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And then also
that's
going into the
awesome.
Google Meta space
Yep.
for that is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
don't be one of those lawyers that puts up a "What's my case worth in 60 seconds."
So I
Don't
was
be
going to
that
say
guy.
that. I was going to say that while you were speaking, and I didn't want to interrupt you. How do you guys feel? I'm going to tell you how I feel right away when I do see some of these billboards, like with the money raining in the back, and like they're on these excuse me, radio stations
Yeah.
that play to a certain genre of people. I'll say,
Yep.
right?
Oh yeah.
And
Occasionally
I
have
know they're
occasionally have
taking them in.
very aggressive animals in some of their things too.
Yeah, and my whole thing is this: it's almost like they cheapen your profession, right? Because like
Yep.
if doctors start doing that, right, with like showing needles and pills and like, hey, we got you. People are not going to want to go to that doctor, right?
Right.
The first thing we're going to be like, oh my god, this guy's a pill pusher or
I
whatever.
I
What do you
think
think
you're
of that?
right, but here's the problem. I
Yeah.
think it does sell with a certain demographic.
Oh, it
And
does.
and
Yes,
so like
absolutely.
we have to the hardest thing I think for any of us to kind of wrap our heads around is
Hmm.
what we think is tacky and gross,
Yeah.
somebody else thinks is awesome. And
They
that's
and
it's
they're in it.
baffling to me.
They're in the middle of it and they love it. And it's like, but I always so I'm just like a quality versus quantity person, right? So, just to make it simple, if you have 1,000 cases and 800 of them are crap, you're winning
Yep.
20%. It's like, so for me, you have to weed through all of that for
But
your
we're also
closings.
like the consumer, I think, is just so different than
Yes.
us. Like we're the type of people that are going to read the reviews. We're the type of
Right.
people that are going to, if you're going to a new doctor or a specialist, you're going
Hmm.
to read on health grades, what the ratings are,
Yeah.
and what people say about them. Like I
Yeah.
do, like because that matters to
I
me,
never thought I was going to do that, but I do it now, even when I buy a pair of shoes.
right? Like
I look at the reviews. I'm
we
like, oh,
do,
these fit
yeah.
okay? Are they? So
Yeah.
it is. You're right, and people are
I
But
going
there's
to it.
some people
I,
that
I
were
think
like,
there's
there's a billboard up there. I'm going to call him. And
Yeah.
there's zero thought going into it.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I applaud those firms who are able to garner the attention of those type of clients.
Mhm.
I don't see them as law firms or attorneys. I see them as like a marketing
Yeah,
Marketing
business,
platform, right? Like
SEO
a business.
marketing
Yeah.
platform.
Hmm.
It's antithesis to everything that we market ourselves, right, Sean? right? Like we're for like the working class, union-based communities who depend on like their ability to work. We're not sales driven, we're not flashy, we're not performative, right? Like we're here to do the hard work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the other thing too, I think and I think this gets to something I wanted to talk about with you, Rap, was I think one of the things that out of town law firms can't sell, and that is the connection to this community and the service to the community and being involved and walking the walk in
Yeah.
different neighborhoods in this community, South Jersey, the whole area
Yeah. The
is,
markets.
listen,
Totally different.
anyone can drop and parachute in for a case. Like, anyone could do that. But until you're embedded within the community and part of it, it's hard to walk that walk.
Well, you said it from the beginning, the culture, even of your firm, there's a culture that's in every city that whether it's North Philly, South Philly, West Philly, each little area has their own culture. You have to understand the people who are in those areas and what they expect, So I could just tell you because, with Synergy, we're in New Jersey, we're in Pennsylvania, we're in Delaware. As we move, and New York, as we move around to the different states, our reps that are in New York and New Jersey are way different than our Delaware reps. It's just a different approach. It's much slower. The people are much nicer when you're down in like Ocean County and like, Cape May. It's a different approach. There's like 3 car accidents in like, 2 months or something.
Right.
So you don't have the volume down there, and the attorneys will sit down and they'll, talk to you and whatever. But you have to understand your population and people you're targeting too. Demographic for that.
Absolutely. And it feels like the new, well, there's 2 things that I feel like it's like a new wave of what law firms are trying to embrace. It's like private equity and AI, right? And it's like an interesting line that we have to tiptoe. So I'm sure Sean and Marla, in Arizona, they've allowed this to be legal. So non-attorneys are allowed to invest in law firms, and they're targeting high volume practice areas, right? So the question then becomes, how is that going to change the way that they operate, the way that they call clients, the way that they decide if they want to settle a case versus taking it to trial?
I've got a lot of opinions on the ABS model.
It could be a whole different radio show, right?
So the alternative business structure model.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, it's I could go on, and then there's the alternative version, which is the MSO model, which is the managed service organization. So, Marla, near and dear to your world, the medical world, we have, and the dental world. So the Advocares of the world, okay, the Aspen Dentals of the world. We've already seen what private equity money does to restaurants and retail. Then they went into dental and they went into medical. The last man standing, so to speak, is legal and from a professional services standpoint. And it's going to be a really interesting dynamic. So obviously Arizona allowed for alternative business structures. People don't often remember this has been going on in DC for years, though, even before that, because they allowed lobbyists to have part of the pie in DC, but it never really morphed outside of DC until it got to Arizona. What you're starting to see is there's at least three states, I think California, Illinois are 2 of the 3 that have put up legislation to prevent like ABS owned firms from either accepting referral fees or engaging in any business in those states. So I think that's going to be an angle. But this managed service organization where they're essentially saying, hey, we're going to put the proverbial Chinese wall up and prevent us from making any decisions, but we're going to take your marketing. We're going to do all your back office. We're going to do all your accounting at our central hub over here. And garbage.
And you know what happens? You dilute the product, right? I mean, it just becomes streamlined. It becomes a bunch of policies and rigid rules and boundaries that businessmen, not attorneys, are making rules. And that's unfortunately what's happened. You mentioned Avocare. It's like a big company. It's like a big pharmaceutical company to me, like where they don't really, it's just dishing out policy.
Yeah, I mean, you got the bean counters telling you how quickly, Raphael, you need to turn around an auto accident case and settle that case and get policy limits and all those things. Like, there's just they're going to have, and metrics for everything, which to some extent, if you could implement metrics into your business, great. If you can implement, those things, great. But having bean counters make decisions for lawyers.
Yeah, that's tough. I feel like it cheapens the profession. I feel that it dilutes the outcome and the product for the client experiencing going to that particular firm.
Yeah, listen, and maybe we'll be proven wrong, right? Maybe in the end, these guys will be different. These PE folks that are coming into the legal space will do it differently.
Yeah.
I mean, I was born at night, but it wasn't last night.
Right.
So I got a big bar to get over before I trust any of those PE folks. But listen, I mean, I think it's always a bad bet to bet against Wall Street. So it's coming, whether we wanted to or not.
But like one of the questions I asked you guys, and it's so true. What makes you different? Because at some point, people still have a choice, and it's not going to be mandated. Hopefully, never that everybody has to fall under these hoods or these umbrellas.
God help us all.
Disaster, right? It would be terrible.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, medicine though has kind of turned that way with these MSOs, like these big groups, and physicians now it's to the point where they can't freestand on their own. They have to be a hospitalist or join Jefferson or Penn to get that paycheck, and that's all they get. They don't do their own billing. They become employees.
But gets back to their lack of knowledge of running businesses too. Like exactly. You were talking about, like even the medical professionals really need to learn how to their businesses, how to run a business, and not many of them do.
Yeah. And then the worst part is they hire a business person and then that distorts their practice. So, so I think everybody should go to law school, medical school.
But one of the things that I think one of the advantages, particularly for smaller firms, and this gets back to that community involvement, but also the culture aspect. One of the things that we've been doing it on a yearly basis around Thanksgiving and Christmas time, where our entire team gets out of the office. We go deliver turkeys. We sponsor Christmas through different adopt a family programs and different things like that. But we were sitting there going, why should we only do that twice a year in November and December? Right. So what we started this past spring was once a month, we shut down the firm for a half day and we go pack lunches at different organizations or help clean up. And it's a whole team bonding thing.
I love it.
And we're out there, we're doing the work. And listen, I mean, sometimes we need to, I guess the kids would say, touch grass, and we need to go out there into our communities and actually remember what it's like. Because, listen, we live in nice homes and have nice things in life at this point of our lives. But it's important to remember that it's not like that for everybody. And serving those communities, people that are homeless shelters, whatever it might be, it's an opportunity to, walk that walk that we've been talking about, community service.
Yeah.
So listen, you have 3 people now, Raphael. I'll get you the names of all the organizations and start having your little team building days.
I love that. I think that's awesome. And, I know that, I don't know if you know, but I'm on the board for the NFL alumni, and our platform is Caring for Kids. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. So I was.
Wait, who's your team? You better say the right team.
Let's go Birds.
All right, good.
All right. Yes. I'm from South Philly too, by the way. So
nice.
As a cheerleader.
I went to Epiphany of Our Lord. Well,
okay. There you go.
Now it's like Holy of Hope on 13th and Jackson.
Right. And, I just continued, because one of the aspects about being a cheerleader was not only getting to be on the field and, be a part of the game, but off the field, all the community involvement. So I continued, since I retired from the Eagles, continued on the community aspect. And I'm a board member, which I get to go out and do these things, for children's charities and things like that. This upcoming weekend is Eagles Autism. So Eagles Autism.
It's a huge one. Yep.
We'll be there for sure. I'm proud to say I have about almost $16,000 I raised for Eagles Autism. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah.
Very cool.
Going to be turning that in at the end of the month. And, but what you said is 100%. you kind of step away because we get into our lives and our professions, and we don't realize how fortunate we are. And for me personally, I feel this way, and I know you guys do. It's the only way is to show your appreciation by giving back, right? We don't need all those extras. We can do something for other people too, that we can give and share in our success. And I teach that to my kids. I make my children go. My kids are, almost 14 and 16, and they do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. They go to the turkey drives that we do, and they're picking up turkeys and they're loading trucks and things like that, because you have to teach them to give back, and they have to understand how fortunate they are. Not every kid gets to get into a nice fancy car to go to a nice fancy school and your fancy sports. And Raphael, trust me, they're not free anymore. Okay?
They're not.
They're not free anymore.
Yeah, Catholic school isn't free either.
Yeah, it's like $440 every month, and then it alternates with an additional $250. He's not in the major leagues. He's in
pretzels and iced teas are expensive now.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then the bats are $350 in the whole 9 yards. But I want to touch this point because you did say that your wife is pregnant, and congratulations. And then you mentioned that she did some work for you. So life is going to get very hectic, for you over the next year. And it's the most beautiful thing in the world. But as a parent and as a professional, we teach our kids, they watch and they learn by observing how we live our life. Not so much what we say. It's what we do every single day to make a difference. That's what they see. And I didn't realize that. Sean, you have children, right, Sean?
I do. My boy's a senior. He's graduating from Catholic school in less than a month. So, yeah.
Very good.
He'll be at St. Joe's next year.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
They're always watching. So what was so illuminating to me when I hired a marketing team to like build out my website and like talk about the brand vision. And I didn't realize this, that personal injury attorneys and the law in general has like a really bad negative connotation to it, right? Like there were ambulance chasers that were for profit, money driven, aggressive billboards, right? Lawsuit culture. So I think it's so important that we stay to our true authentic selves, that what we do on a day-to-day basis, our parents will be proud of, our kids will be proud of, because we know that when people come to us, it's often the hardest times of their lives, right? They lost their job, they can't pay the bills, they don't know if they're going to be able to like put food in the refrigerator tomorrow, right? So we're so lucky to be in the position that we're in today, that we have to get back, right? Like there's no other option to.
Yeah.
Well, there are people out there that don't do that, so you would think that they should, but listen, I not to be a giant shout out for the Catholic education, but my kid's gone through Catholic school his entire life. It was actually through Catholic school that I got introduced to turkey drives, right? And different things like that. So that was actually my first foray into mandated service. And I'm a believer in it.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people don't understand how to give back or where to start. A lot of people think it's just writing a check or giving cash. And the most valuable thing you can give is your time. So to me, it's, we can write checks all day. Okay, fine. As a corporation, we can donate, and that's all great too. But to really physically go there and shake hands with people and hand off a turkey dinner, or hand off, like I said, the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, and just give back. Even just, I taught some dance classes for kids that would never, be able to afford to go to a dance class and to buy shoes and all that stuff. So there's a lot of really great programs. You have to find the program that speaks to you. Sean, my hat's off to you and your firm and everybody there who are doing that every month. And I heard about that. And I didn't hear about it from you. I heard it from other people, which I loved. And I wanted to bring that up today about the community, because that's huge. And it makes your team bond in such a unique way.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm a big believer, and I think all of us are. The more you give in life, the more you get. And it's just I've been blessed beyond my blue collar background ever should have deserved.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to bring up this one point, because we talked about being athletes, right? So, Raphael, were you an athlete?
Yeah, I played third base baseball at Roman Catholic.
Okay.
I still, I
Good.
still play ball. I'm an obsessed Philly sports fan. I go to an away Eagles game every year.
Yeah,
Phillies, you're crushing me this year, but hopefully I got hope with the Sixers and the Flyers to make a little bit of a comeback.
that's awesome. That's so awesome. And the reason I even bring this up, I mean, because we're big Philly, and you are too, right, Sean? You're a
I
Philly
am.
sports
Yeah.
fan.
Season
Okay.
tickets.
All right.
Yep.
Because every now and again, I get somebody who likes the Giants or the Jets, and
Yeah. Yeah.
or Dallas,
We
and
won't
I'm
name
like,
them.
it
Yeah.
makes my skin crawl a little bit. But the attributes of an athlete is huge for business development and growing your company because it's teamwork, it's leadership. People learn how to work together, and I always go for the athletes because they understand that grit that's behind your head there on your
Yep.
wall.
Absolutely.
Because it takes so much. People expect that they're just going to walk onto the field and hit a home run, and they don't understand what goes into it. So and I laugh because my daughter's the laziest kid ever. Athletically is the laziest kid ever. But she's in, I'm not even kidding you, volleyball, basketball. She plays softball, this, that, and the other. Her coach comes up to my car because softball is her least favorite sport. And he goes, I can't stand your daughter, man. I just can't stand her. I said, why? He goes, she does nothing in practice. Nothing. I have to pull her up off of the bench. She won't dive for a ball. She doesn't do anything. But when the game is played, Valentina is covered in orange soot, and that's when her go time is. So I'm like, Val, you're like doing the exact opposite of
She's
what
Allen
everybody
Iverson.
needs to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's Allen Iverson.
Yeah, he goes, and I'm sitting here and I'm trying to explain to everybody how the hard work in practice makes the hard work in the game, and your daughter is the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to work on her. So we're saying some prayers, and she goes to Catholic school too. I'm like, put the grit in. But she's learning, she's doing it. It'll come a time.
And as somebody who spent so it was funny when you mentioned opening your firm and allowing yourself to have a level of control of your own destiny and freedom to do things. I made the move when my son was 5, and I was working. I had a really good job. I was working for a really good firm in the city, and I made the move to unshackle the golden handcuffs and control my future. But it was important when I did it. My son was 5 because I knew I wanted to coach baseball. So I coached baseball for the next decade, and it was the best thing. I ran my firm as a lifestyle firm on purpose for a decade, so that I could coach travel baseball, little league, all the things I wanted to do. Coach flag football with all of my players for the years, and now all my players have either graduated or they are seniors right now, like my son.
Right.
So it's a fun kind of full circle, but it was the best time when those kids walk up. They don't say Sean, they don't say whatever it is. It's coach, and that's my favorite title.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
I love that.
I'm seeing it now, and you'll see it, Raphael, as your kids grow. You want to be available. You don't want to miss the shows and the recitals and the softball games and all that kind of stuff because, you don't get that time back. It's, like Sean, he's about to launch his firstborn and went to St. Joe's.
Yep.
And it's like, wow, you blink. My son's getting his permit next month. So, but listen, I think I can't believe how fast this hour has flown by. We'll start with Raphael. If you could tell everybody how to get in touch with you, because this was such a phenomenal show, and I'm sure they're going to want to contact you.
Phenomenal show. I'm so happy that Marla, you were able to host, and Sean, that you were able to invite me. Anyone who is injured for any specific reason in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, workers' compensation, personal injury, you can reach me at 267-369-0460. That's my personal work number. Call me, text me anytime, or you can reach me at castroinjury.com.
That's awesome. Well, we're looking for big things from you. And Sean, tell your listeners.
Listen, this goes out to Joe. Joe, you don't need to come back.
Yeah, we're
stay
good.
in DC.
We're good.
We got
stay in DC, buddy.
We've got this. I mean, if wherever he is, we'll just shut down his Wi-Fi going forward.
Yeah.
But yeah, listen, appreciate Appreciate Marla pinch hitting today.
Thanks for having me.
Raphael, awesome meeting you. I appreciate the opportunity. Yeah, listen, easy to find. You can find me on LinkedIn if you want to connect on a personal level, quinnlawyers.com, or you can, email me, Sean@quinnlawyers.com.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much, Sean. And yeah, Joe D, this shout out's for you. Thank you for allowing me to step in your shoes. Those are big shoes to fill. I had such a great time with all of you. And again, Synergy Pharmacy, synergyscripts.com, if you guys can check us out. And, we will help you guys, help your clients out with medications, make that part of their life easy. And I'd like to thank everybody on behalf of myself as the co-host to Sean Quinn on Top Lawyer. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.